All right, Ronan, I have a bit of a problem. So, when we're shooting this video, guys, it is the last day of Q2. It's June 30th of 2023. Q1 and Q2 closing wise for me went very, very well above quota. But Ronan, when I look at Q3, my Q3 pipeline, it's not looking all that good. I don't have what I need to have in commit and pipeline to hit my quota for Q3. So I'm going to have to hit the phones hard the first couple weeks. And what I'm a little bit nervous about, and I know a lot of other sellers are nervous about sounding like this when they're cold calling, is I don't want to sound desperate because I need to start setting meetings right away at the start of Q3. So can you walk us through kind of what bad sounds like when trying to close out
Hmm.
a cold call, what good sounds like, and the rules behind how to close a cold call effectively so you don't sound desperate like I'm scared to sound next week?
Totally. Yeah. This happens all the time, especially with newer callers. But early in my cold calling career, um, you kind of feel uncomfortable asking for time, asking for what you want. And that's the first thing is it's the mindset. Like, am I going to actually believe that I can provide value for this person? It's worth the exchange of time for them to learn more about it. But bad closing is something that is very avoidable. So what we're going to do is go into some of the bad stuff, and I'll share also the
Mhm.
tips for how to close with confidence and sound good while you're doing it. But the very first thing is like when it comes down to it, most people overshoot on the close. So they're asking for
Overshoot.
too much.
Yeah.
And it can sound something like, hey, Matt, awesome. So, the point of my call was to get you into a demo where we could talk a little bit about also how pricing is structured. And I'd love to do this with you. And maybe if you could bring in your boss or an exec or someone so we could talk about like implementation dates, that'd be really, really cool. So maybe you're free for an hour sometime in the next few weeks.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a lot. It's a big ask. Big
That's
ask.
right.
Yeah.
And the opposite of that is they're not direct enough. So they might say something like, oh, yeah, like I'm happy to send you more information. Or, oh, yeah, how does that all sound? Some open ended question that isn't direct. So there's two sides
Lack
of the
of confidence.
spectrum.
Yeah.
There's lacking confidence, and then there's too much. So when it comes down to it, the first rule of thumb is don't make it about yourself. Got to make it about them. So often we say things like, I'd love to get you into a demo. I'd love to talk about pricing. Well, okay, great. But what do they want? They're
What about
about
how
to
long?
maybe, yeah, they have a
Yeah.
reason for wanting to talk to you. What's that reason? So you got to identify that with them. And a better way that we do this, and I'll share another example and then we'll break down kind of like what makes it better, is it sounds more like, awesome, Matt. Hey, based on what we just talked about now, you think it'd be like totally insane idea if we scheduled some time early next week for about 30 minutes where we could have a high level chat around some of the benefits that we might be able to provide for you if we did work together?
No, not opposed at all. Not
Hey, that's
crazy at all.
awesome. And you know what? It's Friday. It actually is Friday. So it's Friday. So how does Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central work for you?
It looks like we're available, but 30 minutes, right, Ronan?
Yep, 30 minutes. If that works for you, what I'll do is I'll send over the calendar invitation. It'll say in the event name, discovery call. And when you see that invitation come through, do me a huge favor. Just hit accept so I know that it's on your calendar. You got it. By the way, as a heads up, I'm going to follow up with you the day before on Monday just to confirm that the time and date still works for you. Do me a huge, huge favor, though. If something comes up, you can't make the call, you need to move it, just let me know. No stress on our end here. Can I count on you to do that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Looking forward to chatting with you next week.
Got it. So you're not. So I think what a lot of people do, and this is what I do, when I get like happy ears when I just booked a meeting on a cold call and I'm hopping off that cold call 10 seconds later and I'm bragging
And
about
you're just like
myself.
pumping your fist in the
Yeah. Don't
yeah.
take those extra 2 to 3 steps that you just took there to ensure that that person is going to show up. And if they're not going to show up, let me know so I'm not ghosted and we could always reschedule for a better time that works.
That's exactly right. And look, there is, I'll share some numbers with you from a company you guys probably know about, but I'll also share some of the rules of thumb here. So when it comes down to it, there are a few easy to follow rules because they're really straightforward and just logical. So, bottom line is, and I'll share this out here real quick so that everyone can see.
Awesome.
The bottom line is asking for the meeting. Be specific, be super clear. Like, I'm asking you for time 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Be super specific in the scheduling in terms of the time, and then confirm and reinforce what it is you're going to do and what you expect them to do. For those of you who are booking time for an account executive, let them know that. Say, hey, by the way, I'm going to bring on Johnny. He's my account executive. He's the product expert who can go through all the questions you might have with you. But there's a few more rules, and this is where the data comes in. You got to ask for this time soon, because the data shows that after only 5 business days, you start to see a pretty big drop off in show rates. And after 10, there's a drastic drop off in show rates, which means by scheduling the next call for the next 5 business days and no more than 10, that's 2 weeks max, you increase your chances of having the prospect show up. And the last one, which is crazy that I have to say this, is don't forget to follow up before the call. Hey, really excited. If you use G Suite, you just hit the little email button in the event and say, looking forward to this. If you use Outlook, there's a similar functionality where you just hit the email button in the event and it sends an email to them with the event details 24 hours before. There is software like Calendly that will automate that stuff too, which is a good feature too, because that way you can just remind them that like, hey, did something come up? Do you need to move it? Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. You do those things, you should see a show rate above 80%, and certainly if you're really hitting it, above 90%.
Above 80%, above 90%. So when you're asking for the meeting, you're asking for a specific time. It's either 30 minutes or 60 minutes. That's included in your ask, correct?
100%. Yeah. One of the things I dislike a lot is when I hear callers say like, hey, can I just have 5 minutes? Or hey, can I have 10 minutes or 15 minutes? Just ask for what you want. If you need 30 minutes, ask for 30 minutes. Don't forget, it doesn't make a difference to the prospect. If you have something of value, they'll be glad to exchange 30 minutes of their time to learn more about how you can help make their life better. That's a mindset thing, because that comes down to like, do you see yourself as an equal or do you put yourself below the prospect? And it's so common to see new cold callers or newer prospectors, people who are SDRs or even AEs, do this, where they're like, they feel sort of ashamed of asking for the time. So they'll say like, just a few minutes. Be specific and be straightforward and super honest. And this creates the path of least resistance. This makes it easy for your prospect to just say, yeah, sure, that works.
And that goes back to that confidence piece. If you're asking for 10 to 15 minutes, it's showing that you probably lack some confidence maybe in your product. And you don't really want to waste that person's time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to cause any big issues for people here, but if you don't believe in the product that you sell, if you don't have that confidence in it, that's rule number 1 of sales. You gotta believe that you can provide the value that your solution actually can give a prospect.
Yep. So you said data backs this up. You don't want to schedule that meeting north of 3 weeks, I believe you said, north of 10 business days.
So the most 10 business days, 2 weeks max. Okay. So don't go any further out than 2 weeks, and ideally keep it within 1. So my first ask, I usually think 2 days ahead. I love the audacious SDRs and cold callers who are like, hey, are you free later today? Like I've seen that happen too. I've seen that happen. Actually, I did a live cold call competition, and one of the callers who won actually, she asked that question. The person was like, yeah, actually I have time later today. Why don't we hop on the phone in like a few hours? It's like, why not?
Awesome.
Why? Keep it going. You know what they say, time kills all deals. So why not start it with some urgency and get it going?
Yep. No, that's awesome. What are your thoughts on, because what I see a lot of times or when I listen to cold call live recordings, not yours, of course, but the cold caller or seller overstays their welcome. They don't initiate the end of the call. So the prospect has to initiate the end of the call. So the cold caller can't really close that call the right way. Like, what are your thoughts on making sure that you're the one that is closing out that call to ask for the meeting the right way?
That's such a good question, because this is how I script and train callers. is, and I have a free script builder that I share out. So if anyone wants it, it's in my profile on LinkedIn, and maybe we could share it in this video notes too. But what you'll see is it's a very clear and to the point script that within like 2 minutes, maybe 3, you're getting to your ask at most. And it's because of what you just said. Like, so many callers overstay their welcome. And what you could hear is the tone of the prospect continuing to escalate to the point where they're just like, you could tell they don't want to talk to you anymore. So
Yeah.
don't forget, the goal of the call for many of us, not everyone, is to get time. So don't keep going. Now, some of you might say, yes, but my boss tells me I have to qualify the meeting and I have to get certain information. The beauty of it is you can also do that over email if you really have to. You can ask a question or two on the phone if you want to try to get some information. I'm not a big fan in most cases, not always, but of doing this like cold call qualification too. Because what that tends to do is it creates a really bad experience for the prospect, which means you don't want to start the foot off your relationship off on the wrong foot, having a bad taste in the prospect's mouth. Like that's not going to start it off right. So I'm a proponent of like, keep it short, keep it to the point, hit them with, your probing question of like, do you have this challenge that we solve for? And have you ever considered a solution that does all these wonderful things? Hey, that's why I'm calling you. Would it be crazy if we found 30 minutes on Tuesday?
Would it be crazy? The no oriented, me and Chris
That's
Voss.
it.
And something else, I think I want to say it was like last week. I don't know if you posted this on LinkedIn, but you had a cold call recording with the CEO where you were able to ask that CEO to meet 3 different times in that cold call, and you never once sounded desperate for the meeting. And I think you used the language, the last ask or the second to last ask was, I don't want to strong arm you into meeting with me. And then you asked again. So can you kind of talk about how you phrase, how you ask for meetings? Because I think it's unique and it definitely helps with your conversions.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know you've done this in previous videos, but that's using a humble disclaimer. That's using something that will sort of lessen the hard question that I'm going to ask. So this is a tool in the salesperson's tool belt at any stage of their career, whether you're trying to close a deal or make a cold call. But if you're going to ask a hard question, which is like, I'm going to ask you for time for the second or third time, that's a hard question because you already said no, and now I'm going to have the audacity to ask again. So what you want to do is you want to lessen the feeling of that being like aggressive with a humble disclaimer. So in this case, it's like, I'm going to call out the feeling. Chris Voss talks about this too. Like, call it out first. Hey, I don't want to strong arm you into something you don't want to do here and make you feel like I'm pushing you. But would it be really crazy if we found 30 minutes when you had a few moments next week where we could go over some of the details, when I'm not cold calling you?
Completely out of the blue here. Yep. Yeah, and I'm with you, man. The humble disclaimer, I use the humble disclaimer on discovery calls, on demos. I feel a bit awkward asking this question, but you're right. It helps you ask the question.
Yeah, that's a great one. I feel a bit awkward about asking you a second time. Call it out. Say that you're going to ask them again. I used to put some of the SDRs I was responsible for into what I called 7 layers of hell, which was a drill where they had to handle 7 objections in a row, but also ask for time 7 times in a row. I was trying to train them in the behavior of getting comfortable, just like go, 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 keep asking, keep doing it. And it's really trying to get them to the point where they can ask and it doesn't sound aggressive, but you can keep asking.
What was it called? The 7 what?
7 layers of hell.
7 layers of hell. That sounds, we got to do a video on that at some point. 7 layers.
Yeah, that's one of the drills I do in the boot camp as well when we're working through the more advanced objection handling is I put all the students through this thing where they have to just keep going, keep handling the objection, go, go, go. And that really trains your brain to be quicker when you're on with a prospect and like better at getting all the way through to the ask.
Yep. And that's a good segue, Ronan. Guys, I know on this channel, the most views we get are the videos with Ronan when we're talking about cold calling. So I know probably most of you guys are SDRs or business owners who are trying to build pipeline. Ronan has a boot camp. And what is it, a week or 2 weeks, Ronan? How long is it?
Yeah, it's 4 lessons. Right now it's over the course of 4 weeks, but I'm probably going to change that to make it over a shorter period of time, 1 to 2 weeks for the future ones. But it's gotten really good reviews so far. In the 6 months I've been running it, I've had over 300 students go through it. So a lot of people, I've got some testimonials for people talking about it. And the best part is I have a money back guarantee. So if it doesn't work for you, I'll refund your money gladly. So there's no risk.
No risk. Guys, please click on that link in the description of this video and check it out, because I know based on the content we post on the channel, based on the views of the videos, it seems like you're most interested in cold calling on this channel. And Ronan, I've known we've talked about this on numerous videos, is the best cold caller. I know in America. I don't know about the world, Ronan, but you're definitely the best cold caller in America.
I don't know about the best, but I'll say I'm the best cold caller who also loves training and teaching folks. That's my passion.
And this is key. He's a trainer and a coach who cold calls every day.
It's true.
That is rare.
Still do it.
There's lots of coaches out there who coach, or trainers out there who train salespeople, and they haven't probably sold anything in 10 years, right? So this guy's actually cold calling and closing business every single day, and he helps people like me become a better cold caller. Ronan, anything else on any other tips on how to effectively close cold calls that I need to do this next week that make sure I'm not going to sound desperate?
You talked about this one already, but I just want to highlight it again because it's such a strong tactic. The no-oriented ask. Go for no. I know you love our man Voss, the god of sales, but he talks about this in his book, Never Split the Difference, and every SDR and AE worships him. Met him twice. Cool dude. He's like a real-life cowboy.
Really?
Yeah. I actually did his Black Swan training years ago, and it was also really cool to go through that.
Wow. That is awesome.
He's a cool dude. So in the book, Never Split the Difference, he talks about the psychology behind it, which I won't get into. But the no-oriented ask is, instead of saying, do you want to meet next week for 30 minutes, which you would get them to say, yes, I do want to meet, get them to say no. So it's a little psychological hack to make it easier for the prospect to be open to giving you what you want. So instead of saying, do you want to meet next week, say, would it be crazy if we met next week for 30 minutes? No, that wouldn't be crazy. And I like to prop it up with a statement like that makes it sound like it's going to be a big ask, but it's not really. So with that, the precursor of would it be insane if we, or would it be totally crazy to? And then you get into the ask to spend 30 minutes to discuss a little bit further. When I'm not cold calling you out of the blue. How's Friday at 4 p.m.?
Love it. This is going to help me, guys, build up my Q3 pipeline, because it is looking weak. It's looking like I'm not going to hit my quota in Q3, so I have to use these tips right away next week, because right now it's Friday. On Monday, I need to use these tips to close out my cold calls the right way, so I'm effectively booking meetings and building my pipeline up for Q3. But Ronan, thank you so much for hopping on another video. Guys, in 2 days or 3 days, it is Ronan's 33rd birthday.
Oh, man, make me feel young.
A birthday gift for hopping on these videos and coaching us all up on how to become better cold callers. If you need help cold calling, sign up for his course. As he said, or boot camp, as he said, it's a money back guarantee. You're not going to give your money back because you're going to become a better cold caller out of it. But please click the link in the description and follow Ronan on LinkedIn. Ronan, anything you want to add as we close out?
I appreciate that. Matt, you're always so awesome, kind of shining a beacon of light for all the cold callers out there looking to improve. I mean, if you guys don't already follow Matt on LinkedIn as well, he puts some good stuff out there too.
It's funny. It's Mass 360 funny stuff. So if you want to ask my childhood, it's always childhood stories. But yeah,
I know so much about Matt that I never wanted to know.
My family gets so upset when they see a new post. My brother brings to my parents' attention on the weekend. Did you hear about Matt's post about XYZ when he was 5 years old? Yep, I'm airing out all the laundry in my family, Ronan. It's good.
Free therapy. That's great. I'm a big fan of that.
But thank you so much for hopping in here. Happy birthday, and look out for another video, guys, in another month with Ronan on how to become a better cold caller.
Hell yeah. Happy hunting, everyone.